at you. There must be such a crazy amount of talent in this room. Let me ask again, how many of you are a researcher again? Logical question, right? An event for academics. But let me go for a second question. How many of you, apart from doing research, also does practical work on the ground?
Do you mean by practical work? What do you mean by
But imagine if all that talent that's in this room would also be used to tackle the most complex challenges we face today. I mean, I see it happening so often that researchers do very valuable research, only for it to end up somewhere on a shelf, beautiful recommendations not being used because the people who it's about don't take ownership over the recommendations. Anyone recognizes this? Yeah, hello. Well, it's not new though. I would like to take you to Guatemala for a story. When I finalized my study health sciences, I chose to do participatory action research, which is basically a form of research in which you facilitate change at the same time. So basically you're using research as a catalyst for change. And I thought that was very interesting. To not only try to understand something, but also facilitate local people to do something with that research and to take action. So I took that plane to Guatemala, and once in Guatemala I took a rusty old bus full with people and chickens towards a small village high up in the mountains of Guatemala. And while I was sitting in that bus, I was thinking of the subject of research. They had asked me to do research on a polluted river that served as drinking water. And especially the young ones, the young children, they got very ill from it. So as I walked through those dirt roads and I saw those little loam and wooden huts, and I could smell the scent of burnt plastic and rotten eggs, I thought by myself, you know what? It's good that I'm here. I studied health sciences and I know what these people need. But boy, was I wrong. I had my own Western perspective of what was needed there. But they, in the village, they also had their perspective of who I was and what my role was going to be. I remember I was being invited by a local pastor to come to church on Sunday. He was going to introduce me. And he asked me up onto the altar. And the church was full of people. And he said at one point, he raised his arms like this and he said, "This researcher has been sent by God." And the next thing he said was, "This researcher has not come to kidnap your children." So they also had their perspective on who I was. Great start, right? But I just decided to, follow the process of participatory action research, even though I didn't know anything about the methodology. I just written a little bit about it, but there was no training in it. But I decided to just go start, and I did my first round of interviews. I interviewed all kinds of different people, like parents, teachers of the local primary school, people from the local church, doctors and nurses, the mayor, and I asked them all kinds of questions about that river and child health. And boy, they were passive. They were blaming each other for the problems. And there was so much gossip about who's cheating on who, and the mayor was only drinking alcohol all day. So I was devastated. I thought, how is there any action gonna come here in this village? And I decided to take off my Western glasses and just continue with the process of participatory action research. And I analyzed that first round of interviews, made some visualizations of the results, showing all the different perspectives, and invited these people for different focus group sessions. And then something extraordinary happened, somewhere halfway the process. Instead of blaming each other, these people started building upon each other's ideas. And they came up with all kinds of initiatives. Like small initiatives like a hand washing program, and there was some farmers who said like, yeah, well, you know, we have always some leftovers from our harvest that we can donate to school. If the mothers come to cook in school, then, you know, children won't go hungry anymore. And then at one point the mayor said, well, we still have some pipes that we're not using. If you arrange the manpower, we can arrange drinking water in this village. I was fascinated by all those different initiatives that arose during that process. And after Guatemala, as I was back in that plane, I thought, what if I would have approached this purely from an academic perspective? I would have written a report, written some recommendations based on my own views, of my own analysis of what should be done. And probably 16 years later, it will still be there on the shelf getting dusty. So I got really fascinated about participatory action research. I mean, health science is okay, but I really wanted to focus more on that methodology of participatory action research. Let's say PAR in short. And I wanted to inspire people to also do PAR, because I realized that I wondered what would happen if we would use PAR for all of those complex challenges we're facing. So I really wanted to do more with this methodology. I wanted to become really good at it. And so at one point I started my own organization called 7 Senses. And nowadays, after 11, 12 years, we're with quite a community of PAR practitioners doing participatory action research on all kinds of different subjects in all kinds of different settings. And we also give trainings to basically anyone who wants to learn. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, science so far has brought us really far in understanding the world around us. But, I mean, take climate change, for example. A while ago I was at a conference, beautiful conference, and there were very good researchers showing their groundbreaking research on beautiful graphs. And as I was sitting there in the audience, I could feel my energy draining away, because they were presenting how bad it all was. But where was the action? So I felt the energy draining away, and to be honest, I could see it in the whole audience draining away. And there were people in the audience, like really influential people, the ones, you know, who can bend the rules. And I could see them going outside like this, like almost like devastated, but not taking action at all. They were talking a little bit and then, you know, it's over and they go home. So I think it's a really waste of all that wonderful research that has been done that is not taken action on. So, you know, with 7 Senses, I try to do the practical work in the field. And after a few years of having 7 Senses, I was asked by the University of Utrecht to conduct a research about my work and to write scientific papers about it. And so I got to see a little bit of both worlds. And boy, what a difference. I mean, if you take a PhD, what I'm doing right now, it is such a slow process. I mean, sometimes I have to wait for half a year before I get an answer back whether my paper is published. And even then, if I have to do major changes, I have to write down, thank you very much for your valuable feedback. I changed this word into this word. Whereas with my work with 7 Senses, I really have to keep up the pace. Because if you don't, you lose momentum. And you're working with people who are gaining ownership over their problems and come up with ideas. If you don't wait too long, the motivation will go down again and there will not be any action. So they're two complete opposites. And I mean, both help me very much. I mean, I like both a lot. Because doing my PhD gives me the opportunity to publish papers and to take care of the scientific backbone of participatory action research. And yet, with my work with 7 Senses, I get to see the actual change on the ground. So both are very valuable to me. Now, I would like to leave you with a question and a suggestion. My question would be, what kind of impact do you like to make? This is a take-home question, by the way, to think about. And the suggestion would be, even if you would have the slightest inspiration after today, is to go out and organize a brainstorm with your colleagues, with your peers, with your promoter maybe even your loved ones, the ones that know you very well as a person and who know where your passion is. And yourself, of course. And to brainstorm about how you can use your research in the field to actually make a change for society. And please, keep me posted. That'd be very nice. Thank you very much.